Alrighty, well, we're back on the axle seal on the coupe. Took a day or so to get the parts. Had to order them, went down to Oreilly's to order them, and they cost me twice as much as getting them from Rock Auto. Hey, live and learn. Anyway, the size on the box says 1.375 by 2.502 by 0.375. So let's go over those dimensions. The 0.13, what did I say it was? The 1.375 is the seal area on the axle shaft. The 2.502 is the overall diameter from here to here of the seal, and the 0.75, is that 0.7? No, excuse me. The 0.375 is how thick it is, okay? The one I got the other day, the center hole is 1.5, I think. It doesn't say on the box like these national seals here do. But anyway, what you gotta do, and careful, is take and put the seal down on the shaft. I'll lift it up here in the camera shot. And you just slide it down and make sure it fits the area that the seal runs on. Mine, of course, was too big and it was slopping around. So anyway, now let's move into taking the axle seal out. I have had this tool for a long time. It came from my dad, gave it to me out of his set. This is a Mac, it's a kind of a universal seal puller. And I think that is S120. It's been a pretty handy little tool. It, like I said, it's a universal tool. You basically hold it in place and you knock right here with a hammer and you drive the seal out. We'll get into that in just a minute. We're going to talk about installation tool, putting this seal in. I have a universal kit that I'm not real fond of. Bought this kit a long time ago, back money was tight, whatnot, and you know, do what you got to do to get by when money's tight. But that's basically it. It's got a little aluminum driver, and it's got these plastic adapters that you can use to fit for whatever seal diameter, so that you can get like that right there. You can get that and you drive it up in there. But I'm not a big fan of the plastic. Plastic seems to have a tendency to bounce and it doesn't drive the seal as good as it should. So I keep it around, and I have used it occasionally, but not a lot, just because I just didn't like the way it worked. But you know, whatever. It does work, it's just not my favorite. And I can't remember the brand on this tool. It was a cheap one. I want to say it was actually a Lyle, and normally Lyles are made better quality than this. The original packaging went away years ago, and I took over some storage containers that the wife was going to throw away. I just put it all in there, and keeps it all together. My preferred method for putting in a seal is, if I have a socket, which I do happen to have a socket that big, is to find a socket that is just smaller than the seal, and like maybe an extension. You get a much better, firmer transition from the hammer blow to the seal. Just seems to knock it up in there better. Just better make sure that that sucker's straight when you start hitting on it, because if it gets crooked, you've ruined your seal. So that's enough talking about the parts, tools, and all the horse manure that goes along with that. Let's get this old seal out. Pretty straightforward. Stick the seal tool up in there and start hitting. Catch the seal. You may have to do it in several places around. Come on. There we go. Whoops, sorry. I'm trying to knock you over. Not sure how long this seal's been in here. I'm the one that put it in, but it's got the seal adhesive on it. There it went. And this is a much more well-made seal compared to the one that I'm about to put in. So I'd like to try to find another one like this, but I couldn't find a part number on this one. Only it's stamped on it somewhere. But I want to find another seal like this. This one is much more well made. Get a rag. It's halfway clean. Shake some of the trash out of it. And reach up in your bore. Make sure it's not boogered up. It's mostly clean. You got a little brake clean. It wouldn't hurt to shoot a little brake clean up in there and make sure it's washed out, but it's pretty clean. A couple little nicks, but I think it'll be all right. Oh, there's my seal. All right, so let's see if we can get it started back up in there. Got to get it squared up in the hole. Put what you're going to use to drive it up in there. Whoop. I felt it trying to go crooked, but I got it straightened up. You heard it bottom out. You'll hear the tone change when the seal bottoms out. And that's the that red stuff that's coming out of there. That is a sealer coat. It comes on it from the factory. Just any of that stuff that flakes off, just take your rag, reach up in your finger, get it out of there. It's not a big deal. And it's not a bad idea. This one, I've already got a little oil on it. I'm putting it down on that axle shaft, but so that it doesn't run dry when it first starts out, put a little dab of some kind of lubricant, motor oil, any kind of oil will be fine. What you got on hand, gear oil, which of course is what it runs in, but you just don't want that seal starting out dry. That's it. Then put it back together in reverse order. Pretty simple. All right, take your axle shaft, try to not let the weight of it ride down that seal as much as possible, kind of hold up on it. This plate has a flat side to it. On this particular one, this flat plate goes up. You just have to pivot it, twist it a little bit, get it to go back in. Line your plate up. There it goes. There it went. Slide it back in. Now, what I'm going to say is on that bearing retainer plate, there's a gasket that goes there. I glued that gasket to this backing plate several years ago. I inspected that gasket. It looks like it's doing what it's supposed to do. It's not getting any oil on the shoes. So, gasket looks fine. So I'm going to put it back together just like it is. Probably going to need a shallow well. I might be able to sneak by though. Whoop, come back. Look, I've been doing this for so long. I know how to use my impact wrench and get stuff tight and not over tight and make stuff work. And I know that, like I said, there's torque specs for this stuff. And if you need to know the torque specs for that stuff, go look it up. You can use a standard torque spec sheet, go by threads per inch and the diameter of whatever you're tightening up. So, but I know, like I said, I've been doing this long enough. I know how many ugga duggas to give something. All right, so that's going to do it for that. I'm thinking that I may rough these shoes up a little bit with a little sandpaper, and maybe buff and rough up on this drum just a little bit, and then I'll put it all back together. All right, so off camera I took a piece of 40 grit sandpaper, and you can tell that I scuffed up the brake shoes. Brake dust is not good for you, for your health, so don't go getting carried away. Don't go blowing this stuff around with an air nozzle and all that stuff. And so you just don't want to breathe it. The brake drum, I just took and ran the 40 grit around the inside of it. All you're trying to do is just knock the glaze off. These shoes have been on this car for, I guess going on, like I said, going on 20 years. They got a little light glaze to them, so we're just knocking that off. And then I took a little brake clean and washed everything down. Washing down with brake clean is a lot safer and than trying to use compressed air. You don't want to use, like I said, you do not want to breathe this stuff. Now, one thing I want to do real quick is take a look at our wheel cylinders and check for leaks. All you have to do to check for a wheel cylinder leak, because sometimes they'll hide on you, is just peel the boots back just off of the end just a little bit and look and make sure that there's no brake fluid behind these boots. If you have brake fluid there, the wheel cylinder either needs to have a new kit put in it or just buy a new wheel cylinder. So with all that said, let's knock some of the crust out of that, and we'll go ahead and put these drums. Come on. Ooh, buffing it up made it a little more grabby. There we go. All right, so off camera, I went ahead and took care of the inside of this wheel. This wheel is chrome on the inside, but it was black, completely caked with gear oil and dirt that have accumulated over the years. This has leaked one other time, and then we fixed it and put it back together, and had some grease streaks on the tire. So I just want to go ahead and get it cleaned up, so if for some reason it's still leaking after I get it back together or leaks in the future, you'll be able to tell that it's a fresh new leak. So like I said, got it all cleaned up. Let's get her put back together. Well, we got it all put back together. That is the first of 3 that we have to do. We're going to do the front as well. Got to recheck the wheel bearings up there, make sure that they're all packed with grease. Can't tell you the last time they were done. So we got a lot of work to do to get this thing ready to head for cruising the coast. So until we can get out another video, why don't you go watch another one coming on the screen right now.